We are recording now. All right, welcome to the final installment of Boundaries for Wellbeing. As you know, my name is Helga Casey, and I'm one of your internal OSU EAP counselors. Thank you again for attending today's webinar. The Employee Assistance Program is always happy to partner with your Plan for Health and Virgin Pulse to bring you another EAP workshop series, Boundaries for Wellbeing. So that is where we're at. It's part 4. It's our last one. I'm excited, and I had to start it off with the meme. Yep, you look incredible. What's your secret? Boundaries. That's right. Boundaries, they look good on everyone. Let's be honest. I love a good meme, and I saw this on my friend's Facebook the other day, and I literally told him I'm using this for my finale webinar. You know, Brené Brown defines boundaries as what's okay and what is not okay. She believes boundaries are about respect for yourself and the other person. And without boundaries, the healthy lines in a relationship will become blurred. And you may begin taking responsibility for what someone else should be responsible for. So just that little refresher from our friend Brené. And then a little review from last week, right? Some of the takeaways were, did you begin reviewing your work responsibilities and your workload? I didn't expect you to have that finished in a week. I know mine haven't been finished yet. I started it and I feel good about starting it. Did you make a more realistic to-do list? Yes, I did. I was very excited and I felt good after because it was real. I really enjoyed it. And I actually felt good and accomplished and not overwhelmed by all the to-dos. So that was really helpful. And then ask yourself, did you communicate any boundaries to your coworkers or with your manager or a customer or client? Remember, we're allowed to do that even at work. So I just want to have you give yourself some credit for some of the things that you did do. Remember, it didn't have to be perfect. We just wanted to start trying and exercising our boundary muscles. So a little piece too, I wish I would have added this earlier in this series, and this kind of literally came to me as well. So if you're still having some difficulty in identifying your boundaries, this might be the exercise for you. And once again, sometimes we're visual learners, so seeing it written out loud is really helpful. So the exercise literally is to draw a circle, and you could do this for everything in your life, or if you wanted to do like personal life and work, you could do it separately. But inside of it, you want to write everything that makes you feel safe and stress-free. And on the outside of the circle, write down anything that causes you discomfort, pain, or emotional exhaustion. The circle really is that visible manifestation of your limits. And that will help you kind of guide and prioritize even the boundaries that need to be set, to keep that more stress-free space. We're never going to be 100% stress-free because we're humans and that's how the brain works, okay? But this can definitely be helpful. So a lot during the chat sessions that we've had after the webinar, the recording had been concluded, a lot of you wanted more scripting. You wanted to know how to communicate your new or your sustained boundaries with others, at home, at work, wherever. Well, first, we honestly have to talk to ourselves, okay? We have to start with ourselves about the boundaries. So I'm going to go over a few self-talks that have been popular, that I've seen in counseling, that I've seen in all of my research, and I'm hoping some of these help you too. So these are some self-talks that can help you bolster your courage and your commitment to your boundaries and your well-being. So maybe it's something like, boundaries help me protect my energy, my peace, and my wellness. I am free to evolve and release anything that takes away from my growth. I'm allowed and it's okay to have boundaries. I am my own advocate. I do not have an endless supply of energy, money, or time. I understand that I have limits. Another one might be, just because I may feel guilty, it doesn't mean that I did something wrong. This one hits a lot of us in the people pleasing, even in our customer service type positions that we have. All of us have a level of customer service. And so sometimes we feel odd putting a boundary or a limit down with our customers, our clients, or our patients. Sometimes those are needed. And going back to Brené Brown, clear is kind. So remember that feeling of guilt is not a fact. That feeling of guilt, back to that other one, is just information. It's letting you know you feel that way. And that might be because you're practicing this boundary, especially for those of us who are more of a people pleaser, or we've always been raised as people pleasers, and we're starting to change that now. So just remember, that's not a feeling. The feeling is not a fact. It's just information to let you know where you're at. Okay. So don't hold on to that. It doesn't automatically mean you did something wrong. Some other quotes that have really helped me and my clients when we struggle with shifting to that healthier boundary setting and maintenance. Good old Brene Brown, I'm going to do it again. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges that connect us to healthier relationships. Say that again. They are bridges to connect us to healthier relationships. Remember, those limits and boundaries, especially based on our values, lets people know how we want to be treated and what is okay and what is not okay. That is really helpful. This one, I literally put all therapists, because we all say this in one way or another, is that assertiveness feels like aggression when our baseline is people pleasing. And that hints to that guilt one. We feel like we're doing too much. We're being aggressive, not assertive. We're not. We are being assertive, and it feels a little different if we haven't practiced that muscle for a while or ever. And then I did like this from balancethroughsimplicity.com. And they say clear, strong boundaries are vital for a simple, intentional life. If you're not sure what it means to simplify life, I mean a life that's focused on the meaningful and keeps out the stuff that's just empty padding and clutter. So I really like that. If that's something that really fits you, it's a really cool website, balancethroughsimplicity.com. So the big one, the biggest reason why I think almost everybody signed up for this webinar series was talking to others about boundaries. Am I right? I know I continue to build on this skill. So here are some more scripts and examples of boundaries with others. So I like this one. This is from our fan. We love the holistic psychologist over here, Dr. Nicole LePera. And she had this cool example of what's not a boundary and what is a boundary. So for instance, and yes, I'm going to read from the slide, folks. There's something wrong with you and I'm not taking it anymore. It's not a boundary. That's just a statement. A boundary is if you continue to yell and to not allow me to speak, I won't be communicating with you. It's straightforward. It is. Not a boundary. I'm not a superhero. I can't do everything. How many of us have felt that one? A real boundary is going forward, I won't be able to have dinner ready on Fridays with my schedule. Now, please note, you can add anything in here, but these are really just great examples. And then not a boundary. If this happens one more time, I am done. You will see. Maybe the boundary and what you're really trying to communicate is I feel very hurt when you don't consider me in making decisions. I will need to be included in making them going forward. These are just real ways to say this. And notice it doesn't infringe upon the rights of the other person. So this is that assertive and those flexible. Remember our types of boundaries. We had like porous, rigid, and flexible. That's flexible. And it's assertive, not aggressive. So that's another way to look at that. I also came upon my lovely research for this webinar series is our old friend, John Gottman with the Gottman Institute. He does a lot of couples counseling type work and relationships. And I really liked how he separated request versus boundary. So I want to read these to you too. So the scenario, as you can see, your best friend always calls you when they're drinking, and you're not a fan of this, okay? So a request would be, would you mind not calling me when you're drunk? The boundary, the way to say a boundary would be, I can't have a phone conversation when you're drunk. I'll call you tomorrow. It's clear, it's kind, and it's assertive, not aggressive. Your spouse never helps do the dishes after dinner. I might use this one. Would you help with the dishes? Would be the request. The boundary would be, I can't keep doing all the dishes after dinner. I will do half. It's letting them know what you will do. Maybe it's your mother-in-law or any parent-in-law, let's just put it out there, regularly gives you unsolicited parenting advice. The request you would maybe make to them would be, I'm raising my children in a way that feels best to me, so could you please stop offering unsolicited advice? Now, please note, these requests are very well stated. They're not boundaries. The boundary would be, we won't be able to host you here as often if you continue to offer unsolicited advice. And somebody asked too, you can make the request first if you want to do kind of like, for lack of a better term, like a warning shot. You can, and see if they respect that request and follow through with it. It really depends on your relationship, the situation, and the intensity. You don't have to start with a polite request. You can go straight to a firm, clear boundary. It's really based on your comfort and the relationship that you're in. And then let's see the last one. You've been casually dating someone for 6 months and you're ready to make it official. How many of us have been there? And maybe their request would be, we've been seeing each other for 6 months now. Are you ready to transition into a serious relationship? It's a request. A boundary would be, I want a serious romantic relationship and I'm not willing to date someone casually for this amount of time. It's very clear, not infringing. So these are just fun ones. I would suggest going to this if you need to work on this. It's called Requests versus Boundaries versus Ultimatums. The Ultimate Guide, Gottman.com. You can just go to Gottman.com, do a search for boundaries, and this article will come up. Here's some other ones that I like for the work world. These can also be the other work that we do outside of like what we get paid for, like your volunteer work and things of that nature. I like this. When you disagree with somebody, you could say, maybe I'm intrigued by what you're saying, though I'm not sure how it would work. I was just talking to a client about this the other day. I'd like to see if we might reach a better understanding about our deadlines, our workload, etc. I want to hear your thoughts and share mine as well. And maybe you heard somebody and you're like, oh no, this is not working for me. You could be like, that has not been my experience. That's okay to disagree with people. And what I like to say too, is not that necessarily I'm disagreeing with you. I have a difference of opinion. I have a different experience. I have a different outlook. And it's not to counteract what you're sharing or what you're saying, that they both have value and they both contain just as much space. Now, depending on the hierarchy at work, they might not go with your suggestion, and that's okay. It's okay for people to not agree with you, or maybe see that their perspective has less risk or more benefit. But it's just interesting. You're allowed to do this. Maybe it's saying no to a project or request for help. A lot of us with this chronic people pleasing that we've done in the past, we say yes. That's our first answer to almost every request is yes. So we want to start remember checking on our capacity. We talked about that, I believe, in the first series, was our capacity. What's our mental, emotional, and physical capacity? So maybe it's, I'm long on tasks and short on time. I need to revisit this project in a few weeks. I really like that one. I might use that. Thanks for thinking of me on this one. I'm always up for a challenge, but this falls too far outside of my skill set. Or maybe it is, I'm always up for a challenge. However, I do not have the bandwidth to attend to that and really make that work right now. So you can add a lot to this one. And maybe I'd be happy to help, but I need a day or two to prepare. So you can put a temporary time limit boundary on requests as well. Moving on. Here are some other ones. If you're on, when you're put on the spot, like how many of us love that, right? You can honestly just say, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to have to check my notes and get back to you. Maybe that's a really good question. I'll see what I can find out for you. Or based on the information I have, this is what I think. And that way you can say, clearly state that. So maybe it's when somebody tries to push your buttons and they know how to do it. This happens after we've worked with some people for a while and they get to know us. They get in there, and it's not to be rude or manipulative, but it is to get their way. So I guess it's a little manipulative, but not in that like evil way. And maybe it could be, I feel undermined when you bring this up in front of everyone. Next time, please just talk to me about it in private. Maybe it's, I feel shut down when you take over the conversation. Notice you're owning your stuff. You're owning your emotion. You're not projecting that onto the other person. It's not their fault you feel undermined. You're just letting them know this behavior, I do feel undermined. So if we could do this differently, that would be really helpful. Even the unsolicited advice, back to that old parent law, I'm confused about why that would be a better solution. So that would be that cool way of doing that unsolicited advice. Or maybe we're on a tight deadline. Let's focus on the task at hand and then look at your suggestions. So I'm not dismissing that you have a contribution. I'm not dismissing the fact that there might be value. Right now, I'm focused on this task and I don't want to deal with the other stuff right now. That's okay to do and decline that. When you have somebody had asked in the chat, what kind of statement could you use when it's outside of your job description? I think at that point you could go, oh, that's an interesting offer or opportunity. Let me review my priority task list and I'll get back to you. Could be that. And then maybe to get back to you, especially depending on who's asking you, especially if it's a boss going, is this a time limited request? Is this something that you're wanting on and on? Is this a discussion point? Because if this may be a step to you getting a promotion, it might be worth working on something that's outside of your job description, that there's value to it. So I don't think we have to meet everything with an immediate no. I think I would meet a request of my time also with curiosity. That might be a way to approach that. Great one. Also, I don't know those of you who love the TikTok. I love TikTok. I have found amazing people on the TikTok. The holistic psychologist we refer to a lot, she's on TikTok. So is this person called Laura. It's just at Laura, and you can do a search at Laura. And she does great like boundary role playing in like the corporate world. So that might be something you might be interested to like continue your learning. And they have great examples. Remember, you don't have to say it just like this. This is just to give you some ideas for scripting. So let's continue learning. So I want you to think about this 4-part series. Really, it was an appetizer for you. There's a lot of stuff in it, I know. It was an appetizer, so to kind of get you into the mind frame and make your boundaries a little bit more top of mind as part as your well-being and wellness journey. So the continued learning, that's really the main course. So I want to give you some resources to help you continue your interest and building those skills. And 2, hearing from these other authors and therapists and things of that nature, or people of those types of professions, things of that nature, nice, can give you some different perspectives that you might really jive with. So I want you to kind of consider some of these resources. First and foremost, there is a different feel and experience with boundaries if you are Black and you are a Black woman, without a doubt. And it's very different than the experiences I've had as a Caucasian white person, especially a white woman. So I took this quote from Keisha Project. It's listed there, For Us, By Us, the best books on boundaries by Black women by the Keisha Project. And she quoted, "Black women are expected to be always available, strong, and self-sacrificing. We are labeled as difficult, aggressive, intimidating for asserting our boundaries. These things, along with being underrepresented, lead to the lack of support, making it challenging to set boundaries without facing judgment or criticism." And she says, "The first time I decided to cut off toxic people for the sake of my sanity, I was ostracized." One of the authors and books that she recommended, and I started doing some more research, and this is on my shopping list on Amazon now, is by Nidra Glover Tawwab. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. And it's Set Boundaries, Find Peace, and a Guide to Reclaiming Yourself. And she also has a companion workbook. The author is a licensed therapist and relationship expert known for her expertise in boundaries, self-care, and personal growth. She also hosts a podcast, so I would highly recommend this book. And like I said, it's on my Amazon book list now, so I can't wait to start reading it because I've read some of her website and it's just absolutely fascinating. We also have the lovely Brene Brown, 2 books. A lot of them talk about boundaries, don't get me wrong, but 2 of the books, The Atlas to the Heart, Mapping a Meaningful Connection and the Language of the Human Experience, She just came out with that in 2021. And The Gifts of Imperfection are great books to help you understanding your internal world, your values, and your boundaries. Thank you, Erica, for shouting out that you love Miss Nidra. I'm so excited. I feel like I found gold when I did my internet search for all of you. I couldn't wait. These books and authors, along, like I said, with the holistic psychologist, Dr. Nicole LePera, may have some really interesting approaches for you to setting boundaries and personal wellness. And if you're interested, once again, in continuing your growth in this area, please utilize these. If you want to learn more about yourself in your more intimate relationships with a partner or a family member, Gottman and Dr. Sue Johnson are very helpful and can provide new or affirming perspectives to you about your role and your behavior in your relationships with your limits and boundaries, and then some. Dr. Sue, she does emotion-focused therapy, which you can use in individual counseling or couples counseling. I have this book, Hold Me Tight, on my, I listen to my audiobooks. She's one of them. The Gottmans, prior to coming to Ohio State, I actually was trained in the Gottman method for couples counseling. So both of them really interesting. If that's something you're wanting to learn more about yourself, there's a lot of self-work that you can do with these two authors and programs, so to speak. Boundaries at work. We're all here at work, right? The EAP gets a lot of questions about how can I be a more effective leader? How can I be more inclusive? How can I communicate better? How do I manage my expectations as a leader, even as an employee? I don't think you have to be a leader to appreciate and learn from these book recommendations. The first one is Crucial Conversations, another great one to help you learn a lot more about how to communicate. Thanks for the feedback. That one is great for those of us having to give feedback, solicit feedback, and receive feedback. So this one, highly recommended. I have not listened to Boundaries or read Boundaries for Leaders. I did read some reviews earlier prior to me doing this series, and I've heard really good things. So that might be something of interest. Of course, you gotta love the Brene Brown Dare to Lead. She talks a lot about boundaries in this one. So this might be helpful. And Radical Candor, that to me, that should not be your first book. I think you need to read the other ones a little bit more or listen to them, and that will build you up to Radical Candor because it's a whole different approach. Also extremely valuable. So if that's something that you're still working on of developing those boundaries and just clarity in your communication approach at work, these are great recommendations. I know we've kind of flew through that pretty quick. I want you to know the takeaways from this series. Honestly, boundaries are essential for your well-being. There's no other way to say it. Boundaries are for you. They're the limits that you set. When you ask yourself, when you're setting that boundary and you're saying no to something else, ask yourself, what am I saying yes to? Okay, that's really important. You have the permission to set, change, and maintain your boundaries. We change through our lifespan, right? And our values and our needs will change. So I really want you to consider that it's okay to change them and to modify them. And know that when your boundaries align with your values, it can be a lot simpler to set and maintain them. And oh my Lanta, as we all say, no. No is a full sentence. You do not need to over-explain why you have a boundary. That is your business. And depending on the situation and your relationship and your comfort, you do not have to give a huge explanation of why you're setting a boundary, because it's about you and your values and your limits. I also wanted to absolutely express my gratitude to all of those who were able to attend and participate in the Boundaries for Wellbeing EAP workshop series. Personally, I have gotten so much feedback and got to interact with so many of you. It has actually been a joy. I have really enjoyed this series, and I thank you all for your feedback and your energy. And I hope to see you on future webinars. So remember, the OSU EAP is here for you. So if you need to process more about your boundaries, that's a great time to use solution-focused brief therapy, which is what EAPs are set up to do. We do offer those 5 complementary counseling sessions, and you have your choice between the internal team, our panel of providers in the community, as well as virtual telehealth. You can always get a hold of us at 800-678-6265. Our EAP portal has so much information. Please check it out. If you have questions about any of your EAP benefits, please email us at eap@osumc.edu. And once again, keep looking at that YP4H calendar. The university and WexMed, we are providing a lot of different robust wellness opportunities. I highly encourage it. I'm going to stop the lovely recording here in just a moment, and we will open up the chat.